been in the industry for 30 years, which never ceases to amaze me whenever I think of that. I've always been a railway person. I've worked as a contractor, I've worked in track maintenance, I've worked in track renewals, I've worked in multidisciplinary projects, delivering plant. This is the big yellow plant, Kirov cranes and tampers and things like that. And for the past 5 years, I've worked in Network Rail in the professional head team, if you like. I've been the professional head of track. I'm currently the chief track engineer for Network Rail, and in the last year actually I had the privilege of being seconded to the chief engineer role during the height of the COVID crisis, and that was a joy and a challenge all rolled into one. So that's what I've done in the recent past. I have considered myself a bit of an outsider. I've moved from one company to another, and I've experienced different corporate cultures. I've worked in different teams, and where that has been a joy to do, I've actually experienced being the new person in the team several times and learning the ropes. So whereas I'm not saying I have the insight as to what it is to be a woman in engineering, I'm absolutely not saying that, but it has given me a degree of insight as to be the person on the outside and the challenges it actually brings to actually be the best possible you. And for me, there's a large portion here about authenticity. Through my career, there's a recognition you have to fit in with the corporate culture, the corporate behaviours, recognising what the team wants out of its team members, its individuals. If you're different, visibly different, whether you're from a BAME background or indeed a female, it is difficult. There's more women in engineering now than when I started my career. I actually went to Leeds University, and I remember that quite vividly back in the day, that there was a high proportion of female engineers to male engineers. But when I got back out into industry, it was a dearth of them, and that perplexed me at the time, and it still does today. Statistically, I think, if I remember the numbers correctly, there's about 8% female engineers out there in the wider UK. Network Rail's not quite so bad. It's around about 14% or 15% if I remember my numbers correctly. But we've got a massive way to go, because engineering is for all of us. It's a society, isn't it? And we need half of the population, which are females, to be engineers, because that's just the right thing to do. If we had an equally balanced society, half of the engineers would be female. Half of the leadership in engineering, half of the leadership of society would be female. But it isn't. And that is a simple fact. And we need to discuss and debate why that is. We have a challenge about that talent, because we need to encourage females to be engineers, to step forward and be leaders. And yes, we've got gender stereotypes, let's be perfectly honest, we do. My daughter is still young, she's in primary school, and I've already seen with her those unconscious biases that society has rolling out, and she's talking about doctors are male, nurses are female. That is not right. That is something that we do in society that we need to discuss, work out why that is, and actually dispel those myths. It is absolutely an anathema in today's society, because women can be anything. Something Kamala Harris said, I think, recently, was you can do it. People can achieve everything. So whereas intellectually I'd like to think we shouldn't need to have this conversation, the reality is we do need to have it. We do need to engage with it, and do need to recognise that there's a huge pool of talent out there that, for whatever reason, isn't being tapped into. And I'd like to do my part as a white middle-aged man, let's be perfectly honest, to say, do you know what? Some of the best engineers, best leaders I know are female, and I need to do my part to encourage and support the talent coming through into the industry and up the ranks of Network Rail. And I'd like to think I do my small part to support that. For a strong team, it needs to be diverse. We need people with different lived lives, different lived experiences. And let's be perfectly honest, half our population are female. We all have kind of views of what men are good at and what women are good at. But do you know what? When you blend that together, we have a stronger society. And that's what we need to see in engineering. That's what we need to see. Mindfulness that I mentioned earlier, unconscious bias. So we all have our biases, and that's just a fact of life. So as long as we're mindful of what those are and start to challenge ourselves, our schools are a reflection of society. So as engineers, there's this fantastic opportunity called STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths. We can all engage with that. We can all support kids of all ages, particularly primary school. I'm particularly passionate about that because it's around about 8 years old. You persuade kids to really engage and not turn off from STEM that age. So we can take our time, go out to schools, support STEM. And it's something within Network Rail. I support my team to use their volunteer leave on STEM activities. So for me, it is about doing our bit to support the next generation. And I also suppose, let's be honest, a lot of it is about role modelling. So for kids, for girls, and for kids from a BAME background to see people who look like them, who are older versions of them, coming out and showing them, you can do this. This is a great and challenging, exciting career. That's what we need more of. About encouraging a deep level of engagement in the subject and the conversation. And we have to be careful not to disenfranchise any particular groups, and there's kind of a journey that we need to go through with this. We have an opportunity to really get under the skin of the conversation, because when we get worried about, well, do you know what, the conversation's talking about people who are different to me, therefore I feel disenfranchised, we're doing ourselves a disservice as well as kind of the subject matter. This is about enabling everyone to be authentic, everyone to be the best they can possibly be and come to work and be their best possible selves. In the past, and I don't have a particular strong insight into this, but in the past, we can all imagine stereotypes of female leaders, whether it's in the 60s, 70s or 80s. We can all think of the stereotypes there. And part of it is driven, again, by society, where people have had to conform to stereotypes or morph to kind of the diametric polar opposite of what maybe they might have otherwise been. So for me, I don't worry about any conversation of females in engineering or leadership. It's part of the journey. I've mentioned earlier, I'll say it again, that half the population's female. Around about 14% of engineers in Network Rail are female. Yeah. 8% in UK proper are female in engineering. That is just not right. So we have to engage with the conversation and set our own internal clocks to one side and say, do you know what? Engage with it, have a conversation. How do we encourage our daughters, our partners, society to rethink. When you think of the Far East, we don't have, or they don't have, the same kind of cultural bias as maybe we do in the UK. We see far higher female proportions in science and engineering, and I think it's time we ask ourselves the question in the UK, do you know why is that? Because it's a great career and we need to have as much talent as possible, the best possible people in our community. And we're doing ourselves a disservice by not encouraging females to have a high proportion, high presence. I will confess that a lot of the stuff I have done has been largely unconscious. I've done it because it feels to me to be the right thing to do, and that ranges from coaching and mentoring and advising. Is actually only in kind of the recent years my thought process coalesced around, do you know what, we have to engage in more STEM activities. I'm a chartered engineer, and one of the obligations of being a chartered engineer is to support the next generation, and I hold that truly close to my heart. So I will always support people, be the best they can possibly be. And everyone has individual needs. We've got different lived lives, different experiences, and I found often through the people that I engage with and coach, it's about confidence. So for me, it's hugely important to just remind people that, do you know what? You are capable of marvels if you want to be. Don't let anything get in your way. If you have a dream, have a vision, put in the hard graft. It's not easy for sure, but it is possible. And there are plenty of people around like me who would be absolutely willing to support. I've not even thought about that. I haven't seen any information or data to indicate to me whether there is an increase or a drop-off caused by COVID. Certainly there is, I guess, a bigger imperative for working from home. What that's done to the traditional kind of the gender childcare paradigm, I really actually don't know. So perhaps when we come out of COVID, we will start to see implications, but I'd actually like to think there's a reverse. The reverse is true, where COVID has had a beneficial effect through Teams. I'm talking to you on Teams now. That we've realised that people can work from home. We can work flexibly. So I can't help but feel with every negative step, there is a positive step, and what we have to be is intelligent about how we use those advantages for our benefit. Misphrase, I will say, Kamala Harris, and she said something along the lines of, anything is possible. Set your mind to it, work hard. Have a dream, have a target, work towards it, and you know what? Enjoy your careers. It is a joy to work in engineering, to make that difference, to improve people's lives. It's an extremely rewarding career, and frankly, don't ever be put off from living that dream and enjoying your career. You can absolutely be the best you can possibly be. Go and get it. That would be my advice.